Welcome back to Lecture 3, and this week we're going to discover the meaning of artistic work under the Copyright Designs and Patents Act. So we're at point 3.1 in your lecture notes. What is an artistic work? Artistic work is divided into three categories by Section 4 of the CDPA. So we have graphic works, photograph, sculptures or collage, irrespective of artistic quality. Next we have a work of architecture, being a building or a model for a building. And then we have works of artistic craftsmanship. So they are your three categories. Now note that the first category, graphic works, photographs, sculpture or collage, is irrespective of artistic quality. Now this is a really good thing because one man's art is another man's pile of bricks or a dead sheep in formaldehyde. It really depends on what your artistic taste is. So it's awfully good that it's irrespective of artistic quality. But I would refer you now to the case of Kenrick and Lawrence. If you remember, right at the very beginning I asked you to make a simple drawing showing somebody in a country that had never had the vote how to vote, so a drawing, not words. And in Kenrick and Lawrence, if you remember from last week's lecture, the simple drawing was denied copyright protection, or rather it was denied effective copyright protection. The picture itself, of course, a facsimile copy of it, would be protected, but just the general sort of idea of it, of how to vote, that was denied protection. Now this is an old case and it was decided under the Fine Arts Copyright Act of 1862. And some later cases suggest that maybe now it wouldn't be decided quite the same. So for example, the case that I've given you, and it's on your list, is British Northrop Limited and Tex Team Blackburn Limited. And Mr. Justice McGarry said, "I do not think that the mere fact that a drawing is of an elementary and commonplace article makes it too simple to be the subject of copyright." So he said a simple subject, a simple drawing, could be subject to copyright. And Mr. Justice Whitford in Caro Step Trademark of 1977 said, "No doubt a drawing may be so simple that it cannot be said to be a work, for example, a straight line or a circle, for the word work itself carries with it the idea of the exercise of some degree of skill and labour. But I am unable to accept the submission of counsel for the appellant that the artistic part of this device is so simple a nature that no copyright can reside in it." And both of these observations were approved in Exxon. And I'd like you to just take a little moment here to think about the sign for the London Underground, which is a red circle with a line through it. And you have to ask yourself, is it too simple to attract copyright protection? Now your seminar this week, you have actually got a problem that does involve London transport. So I wonder if you've come across the sign and you've thought about it whilst you were doing your preparation for this week's seminar. I hope you have. So now we do need to have a look then at graphic works. Now graphic works are defined in Section 4, subsection 2 of the Act, and they include any painting, drawing, map, chart or plan, and any engraving, etching, lithograph, woodcut or similar work. Now collage has recently been discussed in the case of Creation Records Limited and News Group Newspapers Limited. Now you have that case on your list. Now I'm sure you've all heard of the band Oasis, and they in fact were who this case was about. Now I'd like you to think back to when you were small children in infant school, primary school, perhaps you went to one that was infant and primary together, and you made a collage. Perhaps you were given pieces of spaghetti or macaroni or sticky stars, something, and you stuck them on a piece of paper and you carefully took it home to your mum, and she probably put it on the fridge door for a while. But what all collages have in common is that they are things that are stuck on. Now this case was about a record sleeve. And here I have a picture of the record sleeve, but I have posted it onto the website so that you can download your own copy and have a little look at it more carefully. So here it is, and I do hope that you can see what is actually on it. It's a swimming pool, and the swimming pool has a Rolls Royce in it, and there is, let me have a look, there's a moped with one of the Gallagher brothers perched on it. There's a rather large calendar at this point here. At some point behind there, one of the other Gallaghers is sitting on something, a large clock, I think. Anyway, do have a look. Download it from the internet if you don't possess the album. Probably you're all too young to have that album. I didn't have it, so I had to get the picture from the internet for you. Now, what happened in this case was, as you can see from the photograph, if you have now paused the video and gone and got the photograph, is that the Oasis band were in the grounds of a country house where their recording studio was. And the security was very, very tight while they photographed for the album cover. The swimming pool was emptied, a Rolls Royce was lowered into it, and then the pool was filled up again so that the Rolls Royce would sort of float, I guess. And then all the objects, there's an old wind-up record player with a horn on it, the moped, the big clock, the big calendar, and some various other objects. They were all very carefully placed around the pool, and the Gallagher brothers were told to hang around and look glamorous, I suppose. Security was very, very, very tight, with security men all around the perimeter of the property. However, some fans were allowed to come into the property, and one of the so-called fans was not in fact a fan. He was a paparazzi, he was a photographer for the Sun, and he managed to take a sneaky photograph which was identical to the photograph that was used for the album cover. And then the Sun turned it into a giant poster, which they then offered readers, send in a coupon and you can have it for £1. Not surprisingly, Oasis were a little bit miffed that their album cover picture was released before their album was released, and so that's what this case was about. They were trying to stop the Sun from selling a £1 poster of their album cover. So do have a look at that. Now, they were trying to say that the album cover, the picture, was a collage. But if you think back to when you were at school, the thing that all collages have in common is that they are stuck on. And although eventually probably the bits of macaroni and sticky stars did fall off the collage that your mother stuck on the fridge door that you'd done at school, when it was a working collage, if you like, it was stuck on. If you lifted it up, the bits didn't fall off. However, of course, if you think about this arrangement of items around the swimming pool, once the photo shoot was over, the Gallagher brothers went away, all the other items were tidied away, the swimming pool was drained again, the Rolls Royce taken out, and so on. So it wasn't stuck there in perpetuity. So the argument that in fact the album cover was a collage failed. So bear that in mind. If you want something to be protected as a collage, it does need to be stuck down. Now, sculptures and engraving, they are found in industry, and a good example of this is in the case of Whammo Manufacturing and Lincoln Industries, which you do have in your case list. Whammo Manufacturing make, wait for it, you could probably guess this, they make frisbees. Great name for a manufacturing company. And the frisbee manufacturer was able to claim copyright in the preliminary drawings, and the wooden moulds, the wooden models rather for the moulds, and the frisbees. So the moulds and the frisbees were said to be engravings, and the wooden models were sculptures. So the models had been carved, and that enabled a later court to distinguish between those and a case where dental casts for false teeth, dental impression trays, had not been carved, and they were copies of earlier models, and that's the case that I've given you on your list of J&S Davis Holdings and Wright Health Group. And here we'll take a break.